It's one of Vancouver's oldest and most horrifying cold cases, dubbed the Babes in the Woods. Now the VPD has enlisted the help of an American genetic genealogist to try to identify two young boys found bludgeoned to death in Stanley Park nearly 70 years ago. As CTV's Shannon Patterson reports, they hope it leads them to their killer.
In 1953, a groundskeeper in Stanley Park discovered the skeletal remains of two children buried in some brush near Beaver Lake.
They were boys aged 7 or 8 years old with obvious wounds on their tiny skulls.
They were murdered. They were bludgeoned with a hatchet. These children had been left in the park for approximately 5 years, we believe.
Still unidentified nearly 7 decades later, the boys' remains are part of a cold case exhibit at the Vancouver Police Museum.
We were able to extract some of that DNA to get a DNA profile, and we've sent that DNA to the Redgrave team. They'll now be using it to search through various databases that include DNA from people who have willingly submitted their DNA to private companies.
What we'll end up receiving is the full genetic sequence of both of the boys and be able to not only ID them or an immediate relative, but be able to find people who share genetic material at as far back as the 6th cousin level.
Because no one reported two boys missing and the remains were found under a woman's fur coat with a picnic basket nearby,
it is highly possible that the killer of these boys was either a parent or someone who is close with one of the parents. So knowing who they are would go a long way to being able to ID who killed them.
We're quite realistic that in understanding that it's quite likely that the person who did kill these boys is no longer alive.
But the VPD is still determined to close the case that became known as the Babes in the Woods.
This case will remain open until we have solved it.
Shannon Patterson, CTV News, Vancouver.